So my in-laws just bought a new house and they're searching for a specific piece of furniture for their entryway. But the shape of the room is a little bit different, so it's gonna take a custom piece to fit this space. Now, it takes a certain level of crazy to agree to build something for your in-laws and hope to impress them, but there's no turning back now. Okay, so getting started on the top of the entry table, I've got these two slabs boards, I don't know, each with one live edge. They're book matched. Now there's some cracks in the middle of them and they're actually different widths. I'm gonna get that bark removed, see what those look like. I'd love to keep the live edge, but I think other people wouldn't like it as much. I'll probably end up cutting those back, but I definitely wanna keep some of that spalted looking sapwood. I think that's really cool, so let's get to it. So it's pretty quickly apparent that I'm not going to use the live edge, but I don't really have any square edges to work off of, so I'm just trying to kind of square something up so that I can start cutting these down. Ultimately, I just need 18 inches in the glue up, so that's what I'm going for. Okay, so by now you can probably see that I'm using red oak for this project, and there's two things that I want to say about that. The first is that this is not your typical red oak. Even though I'm cutting off the live edge, I'm going to try and keep as much of the sapwood and spalting as I can. And also, this is quarter sawn, and I'm not sure it was supposed to be. The mill that I got this from said that when they were cutting it down, I think they just sort of hit it at the right angle. But either way, these two pieces have a ton of those tiger stripes running through them. And lastly, because this is quarter sawn, the grain is very straight, but it also has a lot of gray in it, which makes it really interesting. Okay, so before I share my second thought about this red oak, I just want to walk through my mindset here. Okay, so typically when I'm building something, I want to leave as much material on as possible for as long as possible. But at this point, I had to make a decision. I felt like this was just a little too heavy and a little too wide for my planer, so I decided I would try to cut it down first. But because it was so thick and wasn't flat, it was pinching my blade, and well, you can see, not the safest operation and not the best cut. And to answer one of the most common questions in the comments, no, I don't have a jointer. Which in this situation would have been nice to have, not only for the milling, but also for the safety aspects. All of that to basically say, if you're looking for an excuse to buy a jointer, or you're looking for a reason to convince a significant other, the safety route is not a bad one to go down. All right, back to my second point about red oak, which is that I think it's underrated. I mean, if it weren't constantly compared to its older brother, white oak, it would be a go-to for so many furniture pieces. I mean, red oak is Eli Manning compared to Peyton. Both were #1 draft picks, both had 2 Super Bowls, both are Hall of Famers, yet it's universally agreed upon that Peyton was the better quarterback. It's like my siblings having to be compared to me. I mean, it's not fair. Okay, I'm joking about that part. Anyway, I'm just saying, red oak is pretty great, and consider it for your next project. Okay, on to the design where I knew we needed some options. So I started with 2 really simple flat designs. We have option 1 that has a lot of clean lines and this floating shelf look, and option 2 which has softer edges and more of this nested floating drawer box. So I sent pictures of these to my mother-in-law and asked her which one she liked more, and she said, "Great, I needed that added pressure, thank you." And before I tell you what design I chose, I wanted to show the oddly shaped room that this is going in because it's round. So with that, I chose the soft edges, option 2. A pretty straightforward design when it comes to the top and the base, but the details come into play when you look at this floating drawer box and how the rounded edges will have to nest perfectly inside the shaped legs. And one more angle here where you can see the rounded back will fit perfectly against that wall. Jumping into the base of this table, I've got 2 of those single live edge slabs left that I'm going to be using to make the 4 legs and the aprons that run all the way around the table. None of these slabs are the same thickness. I don't know how that happened, so I've got to work around getting all that down to the final dimension. As I mentioned, this table is for my in-laws, and they just bought a brand new, beautiful house, and I'm really excited to be part of hoping to make this feel like home for them.
And I'm a pretty firm believer that the right piece of furniture can really transform a space. Now, there's nothing wrong with their entry room currently. Again, it's just the fact that they literally can't find anything with a curved back to fit in that shaped room. And I'm excited for that challenge. Now, is it smart for me to try something I've never done on a piece of furniture for my in-laws? No. In fact, I'm pretty sure somewhere along the way I'm gonna screw something up. But I mean, as long as they don't watch this video and we keep it between you and me, you and I, you and us, keep it between us, then I'm fine, right? Anyway, finishing up this milling process here, and I'm just squaring up the ends of the table legs on the table saw.
I've got all my parts laid out for my base, but as I was milling them, I started to notice a lot of pinholes and some cracks and checks. Some of them are worse than others. I mean, listen to this. I've got to get these filled.
I'm just starting with some CA glue to fill some of these small pinholes. Then it's on to the total boat, and this is my personal favorite epoxy. One of the big reasons is these pump tops. I like these not only because I get the perfect ratio every time, but I also don't use a ton of epoxy at once, so I can do a full pump or a half pump and basically not waste any epoxy. I'm using their high performance epoxy with a slow hardener, which gives me plenty of open time and really stabilizes that wood. So if you're interested in any Total Boat products, I've got an affiliate link in the video description, which will save you 5%. Thanks, Total Boat. If you've seen any of my videos in the past, you know what green tape means. How many shots will it take to make it in the trash can?
I've got all my base pieces prepped, but before I glue them up, there's one last detail that I have to do. I'm going to use a bolt and threaded inserts to attach the tabletop to the base. So I need to go ahead and drill a recessed, oversized hole into the front and back apron so that the bolt can fit through them.
Okay, I probably know what you're thinking, because it's likely the same thing that I would be saying. How interesting can a box be? And on the surface, not that interesting. I mean, more cutting, more milling, okay, we get it. And of course, there's a lot of situations where you have to be precise with cuts and measurements, but this one has to be perfect, or the whole thing is gonna look terrible. So yeah, more pressure.
As I'm putting this drawer box together, I'm going to make a small design change. So originally I was going to put a dado slot on the inside of the drawer box, and that would allow for 2 panels to sit on the outside. Instead, I think it would be better to make the whole front be those 2 drawers. So I don't need to do a dado slot anymore. However, I still need a divider in between the drawers for the drawer slides to sit on and also act as a stop. And the tough part about that is order of operations. I have to put a rabbet on the inside of this drawer box to match the curves of the outside. If I have a divider sitting in here, that bit won't be able to get in there. So I'm gonna go ahead and create a dado slot for that center divider, but it needs to be in a way that I can insert it after the glue up.
Okay, I know I say this every video, but things can get a little bit confusing, and I certainly want to share everything that I possibly can. So if you see something and you have a question, please leave it in the comments. I love to engage with you guys and answer any questions that I can.
With all of that done, I can focus on the last two things that I need to do before gluing this up. So the first is going to be plunging for the dominoes. Now, I'm just doing a butt joint on this. The reason is because I'm doing that big round over. And with that said, there's one consideration that I need to take into account. With a big round over going right here, I know that if I plunge a regular depth, that domino is going to end up showing through when I put the round over on. So what I'm going to have to do is a couple of things. Number one is that when I plunge into the end of the top and bottom pieces, I want to go further down the board than closer to the top. And then also I'm using a 30 millimeter domino. So I'll go ahead and plunge 20 millimeters into this board so that I only have to plunge 12 into this one rather than the standard 15 and 15. So I won't go as deep on the sideboard. The second thing that I'm going to do is pre-finish the inside, which will make it a lot easier later. And with that, this drawer box will be a matte black India ink finish. Then I'll put some charcoal Rubio on top of that.
I gotta be honest here. I know this whole video is about me building a piece of furniture for my in-laws so I can impress them. And it's true, that is what I'm trying to do. And there certainly could be a lot more drama involved with that storyline. But to be honest, the stakes aren't quite that high. And here's why. See, my wife and I, we started dating when we were 16. So her parents have known me for 17 years. I mean, they've been in my life for longer than they haven't. They saw me grow up from an immature little boy to an immature grown man. I mean, we've been on vacations together, I go camping with my father-in-law all the time, and we still have dinner at their house every Sunday night. So all that is to say that yes, this piece does need to be perfect, but do I feel that much pressure? Okay, yeah, her mom still makes me a little bit nervous. I'm kidding. But really what I'm trying to say is that my reputation is not on the line here. The only thing that really makes me nervous is that this is really a statement piece. I think. I mean, I don't know what a statement piece is, but it's definitely a bold design, and it's one that they didn't really ask for. The good news is that you'll get to find out with me, and maybe that means we get to find out if they like it, and maybe it just means we get to learn if they have any acting skills. I mean, either way you look at it, the pressure is really on them. It's not on me. Not at all. The pressure's not on me at all. Not one bit. There's a radius that this tabletop has to fit into, and that has me really, really scared.
Because we have to shape the back of it to fit perfectly against the circle part of that wall. So what I've done is first create a template out of paper. So I'm going to transfer this arc onto this piece of MDF, cut it out on the bandsaw, and hopefully use it as a template to shape the top of the table.
This project had a lot of firsts for me, and this is not the first paper template that I've ever made, but it's definitely the biggest. And I'll be the first to admit that I'm not great on the bandsaw, and this is definitely the first template that I've used. And after some sanding, I was actually pretty surprised at how smooth it came out. And here's the interesting first, because not only have I never owned a jigsaw, but as long as I've been woodworking, I've never even used one in a project. Which seems crazy and kinda has me thinking, will you leave in the comments that one tool that everyone seems to use that you've never even really considered buying? Not the one that you want, but, you know, just one that you don't think you need.
Like I mentioned before, usually the least desirable part about red oak is, well, the red in it or the pinkish hues that run through the grain. And while I'm certainly not aiming to completely cover that up because I'd have to go way too dark, I did think it would be interesting, not only for this project, but also just for red oak in general, to do a couple different Rubio monocoat samples to see how they turn out. So I've sanded down the bottom of the tabletop, and I'm gonna throw this stuff on and see how it looks. Okay, so I can't make up my mind on this Rubio finish selection. So I got to call in the big guns, and she's really good with design and visualizing finished pieces. Plus, this is for her parents, so 4 options.
Okay.
This one's more of a white, at least lighter.
I don't like that.
These look really similar. I think this one's actually a little bit lighter, but they look very similar.
I feel like that one's darker.
And then this one.
Oh.
There will be an element of dyed, like 90% of it will be whatever the color we pick, but there is a piece that's going to be black.
Is that black?
Yes.
Okay. I don't like that. That looks pink to me.
Not necessarily trying to hide the red tint,
Yeah, no.
but I'm just trying to figure out the best way.
I mean, these definitely are the most red. I think she's gonna like this one.
I like this one too.
This also is in the same
Their table.
tones as their table,
Right.
so it's not gonna clash.
Like-
Worry about this almost clashing too with their floor.
Yeah. Yes, dear.
What you need, baby? Yeah, it's on the counter. Cut that out.
So you think this one?
I mean, you're gonna ask her, right?
No.
That's a lot of pressure.
You're going to choose and we're going to go.
Okay. I almost feel like we should go with this one for her because it's gonna go with their table.
All right. Light roast.
Yep.
With the Rubio selected, let's move on to prepping this tabletop for finish. I've got some wormholes and sawdust that need to be cleaned out and filled with epoxy, as well as some knots that need to be filled with epoxy. So let's get that done and then we'll get the Rubio on it.
A little more Total Boat high performance here, and I've just tinted this rather than going with a full deep black, and I think that'll help match the grays in the table a little bit better.
Both of the legs are glued up and now I need to shape them. When it comes to shaping these legs, what I'm gonna do is basically put a rounded edge on this inside corner, which will also match the drawer box that will have a big round over on it. So to do that, I use a rabbet bit and I take about 1/8 of an inch off the entire inside of the board all the way around.
So I've used this method before, and it works great until it doesn't.
Oh my gosh! No. Dang it. All right. First mistake here on the project, where I drilled the recess and oversized holes for the bolts. As the bearing was riding along, it just took that divot and took a big chunk out of this apron. So I think I have a solution. Basically, this will now become the inside, so you won't see this. And whenever I shape what will now be the front, I won't go deep enough for that bearing to hit these bolts, and then I'll use my flush trim bit to clean the rest of it out.
So that immediately means that this project is not perfect, and no project that I have ever done is perfect. I'm not the first person to say this, but it's not about the mistakes that we make, it's about how we can fix them, or hide them in my case. Either way, mistakes are inevitable. Step away for a minute, find a creative fix, and move on.
With the legs shaped and sanded and edge profiles done, I can start on assembling the base. To get it assembled, I'll have an apron on each end that will match the front apron, and then I'll have 3 stretchers that will hang 3/4 of an inch below the front apron, but only on the inside. And that's what I'll use to attach the drawer box. Now, on those stretchers, I will use the bolt and threaded insert to attach to the tabletop, and then I'll also run a threaded insert into the stretcher, and a bolt will go up through the drawer box to hold the drawer box in place. Lots of bolts, lots of threaded inserts.
So while I was making these stretchers, I had the idea to try to camouflage them a little bit more. So the first thing that I did was take the hole saw to them and cut those corners off to kind of create a little cove and make it sit back a little bit further. And then as I was prepping for the base assembly, I realized that the 3/4 inch gap between the drawer box and the bottom apron is going to be pretty dark. Not only because the space is small, but also remember that drawer box is going to be black. And thinking about it now, it seems pretty obvious, but in the moment it seemed like an amazing last minute decision. I should dye these black. With that, we can finally start putting a few of these pieces together. So here's my question for you. How much glue is too much glue? Is there such thing as too much glue? I mean, obviously I know like the squeeze out rule, but I don't know. I watch so many people on YouTube and I feel like they're just over gluing, I don't know, just to do it or to prove that they're using glue. I'm not sure. Anyway, I think I did it here. Yeah, I definitely over glued here. Or did I over glue? I don't know. What is over gluing? That question keeps me up at night, so if you happen to know the answer, please let me know. Drawer box is done. I still have a ton of details that I have to take care of before I can get any finish on this. The first thing that I have to do is take my rabbit bit and run it along the inside of the drawer box, which will round over the inside of the corners, will match what I have to do after that, which is to put the 3/4 inch round over on all 4 of the edges. Then I can work on getting my center divider put in and then figuring out where I'm gonna mount all of the holes that I need to hold this in place. With the drawer box done, the last thing that I need to do before I can start building out the drawers, remember it's gonna have sort of that floating effect, so I need to figure out exactly where I'm going to put the bolts and threaded inserts into the base. If you've made it this far into the video, I just wanted to take a second to say thank you. A genuine thank you, because it means a lot that you're taking the time to watch my content and support me. This is obviously not my full-time job, and honestly, it takes a lot of time and effort to do these videos. And that's not meant to be a complaint at all. I mean, I'm probably not supposed to say this, but at some point I'm gonna have to figure out how to monetize this thing. But for now, I'm just enjoying the fact that someone may be getting something out of watching this. And if that happens to be you, this is the only time I'll ask you, but please, give this video a like, and if you're feeling like it, subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate it. Back to the build, where I'm starting to get a little bit anxious, and it's partially because this is where I find out if all my measurements and parts and pieces that I've built are actually going to fit together. But honestly, there's so many things that have to get done that I start to worry about jumping around too much and not allowing people to follow what I'm actually doing, so I always end up over-narrating this part of the video. And I think what I'm starting to understand is that I'm just not giving you all enough credit. I don't need to tell you what I'm doing. You can see it. But with that said, I'm going to try to crowdsource some information here. Partially because I'm curious, but also because I think it'll help me make better videos. So here's my question. Is there something that you really liked in this video that you'd like to see more of? Or maybe there was something that you skipped or just didn't enjoy watching at all? I know it's dangerous to ask, but let me know in the comments. All right, one more thing to admit here. I am terrible at sanding edge grain. Every time that I try to sand at a 90-degree angle to get the side of a table, it never ends up flat. So after some research, I found this, which I 3D printed. And I may have found Drew over at Whitwork's next big product. So send him this video and subscribe to his channel while you're there. So similar to earlier in this video where I felt like I had a novel idea to dye those stretchers black, I had another epiphany while I was dyeing the floating box. Staring at the drawer boxes I had just built, I thought they needed a little contrast. And while not everyone will see this, I think it's a nice design touch to tie the black in. With that, one last thing that I want to tell you about that I learned, because I did a lot of different experimenting with this India ink. Or I guess technically I did a lot of experimenting with what I did before and after I applied the India ink. First off, I only sanded up to 150 grit. And I think that did two things. First, it let the India ink seep into the wood a little bit deeper. And second, it helped create a little bit more of a matte finish. The go-to top coat over India ink is de-waxed shellac, or maybe a water-based poly, but I found that charcoal Rubio gave the most consistent finish. And that's not sponsored, no affiliation, it's just my honest opinion. Alright, I just wanted to take a second to publicly express how great of a choice my wife made with the light roast. And while I'm at it, I might as well say she's a great mom and awesome wife. Now I'm actually getting nervous. And don't worry, there's no problems with the final assembly, which is not always the case when it comes to these undermount drawer slides, but we got them. However, as this is all coming together, I'm starting to worry about how much of an acquired taste this table might require. The overall design I would say I'm pretty proud of, and the contrast between the finishes look really nice. Plus, the way that these three pieces came together without needing any adjustments, while very surprising to me, means that I at least did one thing right. But I'm not the judge, and I'm starting to worry this may just be a self-serving project. Well, there's only one thing left to do.
Cool. Oh my gosh, I love it.
Wow, man, look at that, dude.
I love it. It's perfect. Beautiful.
Super duper.
That's perfect because that's like.
It's not far from the table.
No, I didn't want it to be that color. So
Right.
to match. Then with that's perfect. Doesn't it look good?
Awesome, man. Thank you. That is too cool. I can't believe you got it done so quick.
Oh my gosh, look at that. I didn't expect drawers.
It's got the soft close, so you just kind of just sling it close.
Wow, look at that. Too cool. Thank you, boy. You did a fine job.
What do y'all think, guys? What's your...
Oh yeah.
He's checking out Daddy's skills.
Kobe, not so hard, dude.
He's gonna do.
That's gracious.
Are you gonna be hiding your cars in there? What do y'all think, guys? What's your...